Personal fulfillment is a tricky subject, and unfortunately, it is down to you really understanding what will allow you to feel fulfilled. Now, achievement and personal goals go hand in hand, but ultimately it comes down to understanding exactly what you want to achieve. And that can be really difficult, especially when you've got to kind of the point where you could potentially do a PhD because you have all of these outside pressures that are telling you to do it, even though maybe you don't want to, or maybe there's things telling you not to do it, even if you want to. I'm talking about things like expectations from family, societal pressures, or any other kind of institution or cultural obligations that are kind of telling you, yes, you should or shouldn't do this, and that will not make you fulfilled. Fulfillment comes from exploring things that are important to you. Importantly, it also involves failing a lot and overcoming hurdles to achieve something that is important to you. And the one thing that we'll go through in this video is that it is not a thing that gets done. When you get to the end of a PhD, you do feel, or at least I felt, very fulfilled. But at the same time, then I was like, okay, what's next? This idea of fulfillment isn't something you tick off a to-do list. It is an ongoing process of finding things that are important to you and growing in those directions, building those skills, failing, overcoming issues, and then, that just repeats over and over and over again through your entire life. And it's about finding those things that are important to you and avoiding the outside external voices. And that is the most difficult thing to do. This video is brought to you by my newsletter. Go check it out at andrewstapleton.com.au/newsletter, and there you'll get 5 emails straight away full of value. Everything from a daily planner all the way through to the top tools that I use, how to write an amazing abstract, and the podcast that I've been a guest on that I sort of absolutely loved, and I got loads of opportunities to say a lot of kind of valuable, important things that I can't squeeze into short videos on YouTube. So go sign up for that newsletter and you'll get all of it. Okay, the first thing that I want to say, and I've hinted at before, is that personal fulfillment, whether or not it's PhD or anything else, comes down to understanding what you want, no one else. The problem is that outside voices can be incredibly loud and they can have a disproportionate influence on our thinking. So is a PhD important to you? If it's not, if it won't make you feel a sense of achievement, then it won't be fulfilling. Now, for me, I look back on it and I kind of see that a PhD wasn't super fulfilling because the reason I did it was to get into Australia. I loved Australia. I did a year abroad and I came back and I was like, great, a PhD is a easy visa. Like, I hate paperwork. So it was an easy visa to kind of come in, do a PhD. And through the process, I'm not sure if it's a form of Stockholm syndrome or something where you start to love your captor, but I really did start to feel fulfilled. I was like, oh, this is about problem solving. I love problem solving. I love doing new things. So maybe if I'd thought about it a little bit more, I wouldn't have necessarily gone to a PhD straight away, but I feel like the things that I like, the things that I enjoy would have eventually led me back to a PhD anyway. That is problem solving. That is doing something new. That is not getting a job. That is not listening to society to be like, oh, get yourself a job. And I did, and I didn't like it. Anyway, so worry about what you what you find valuable and what you want to achieve, not what society, your family, your friends, your expectations, even about your own career. A PhD is a big undertaking. It can last for many years. And if you're not 100% committed and it won't make you fulfilled, or you feel like it's not part of your personal achievement goals, you're going to have a terrible time and therefore you won't feel fulfilled. So yes, it's very personal. It's up to you to do a deep dive into your own kind of desires before committing to a PhD. But I think a lot of people do find it very fulfilling because they've got to a point where they enjoy the problem solving, and overcoming hurdles and failure is all part of the process. Let's talk about that. Personally, I think that a PhD was so fulfilling because the kind of odds are against you. And I think part of that means that my inner what do you call it, oppositional defiance disorder goes, yes, I did it despite all the odds. Overcoming failure, pushing through stuff that other people wouldn't want to push through, overcoming issues in your own head. All of these things mean that each hurdle you jump over, you're closer to getting a PhD. And each time I kind of faced a problem, I always thought about it in terms like someone would have given up now, but I haven't. Therefore, that's very fulfilling to me. So I'll keep going. Maybe that inner competition, maybe is not super healthy, but that I remember definitely thinking that. And so, yes, each problem I overcome, not only did I think, yes, this is a tough barrier, but I've overcome it. And then I go to the next thing and next thing. And overcoming problems is, I think, a key part of being fulfilled. If something was easy, it wouldn't feel as fulfilling as overcoming problems. And the thing about a PhD is that you're overcoming problems that other people have never tackled before or have tackled and failed. And you are there collecting information about something novel, something new. And obviously, because it's uncharted territory, it is going to be incredibly difficult and you're going to face your fair share of challenges. But overcoming them is a very important part of a PhD, feeling fulfilled. So yes, overcoming failures, it's part of the territory, I'm afraid. I think another reason a PhD is very fulfilling is because you actually explore something that's completely new, completely uncharted. Why do I like that word today? But yes, it's all about discovering something about the world that no one else has sort of tried to understand, or maybe has not really got the full picture, and you're pulling together all these bits of information, whether or not it's experiments from the physical world or looking at literature or coming up with your own ideas and looking for evidence to support them. All of these things mean that a PhD becomes very fulfilling, and you've got to be very careful that your success in your PhD and your research doesn't immediately kind of spill over into how you feel about yourself as a person. And that's very difficult because as academics, you kind of start to merge with your research, with your ideas. And so, yes, a PhD is very fulfilling because you get to explore something new, and you've just got to keep on holding on to that thing. Like, it's new, it's exciting. People haven't done this before, and that act of discovering and understanding something is very fulfilling for me, at least. And there's that light bulb moment, like it really does kind of happen, where you kind of build this foundation knowledge and then you understand something new, or you make a new connection in your mind. And that's kind of a very creative process. A PhD is about connecting dots, each dot being a little bit of knowledge, connecting it in different ways. And that along with something being completely new, is very fulfilling. So there's no doubt that I personally got a sense of fulfillment from doing that. Okay, I want to talk to your ego for a little bit. There is something very fulfilling about being externally recognized for your achievement about getting a PhD. Let's face it, even me, when I've tried to destroy my ego all the time, there is something that bubbles up inside that goes, yes, this is great, love it, more claps, more like ceremonies, more silly floppy hats. All of that really does make a PhD fulfilling. And I think because there's a bit of a tradition behind it, it means that the sense of achievement when it's recognized externally by a university, by people, you're sat in an auditorium and you go through the pomp and ceremony of wearing your floppy hat and walking up on stage and sitting on stage, looking outwards to the audience, at the graduates, the undergraduates, all of that. The ceremony does make it more fulfilling, and there is something inside, I think, all of us that does enjoy tradition, that does enjoy the cultural aspects of getting a PhD, and everyone loves a nice round of applause, their own round of applause. Now, when I went up, I actually sort of went up, they said my thesis and, introducing Dr. Andrew Stapleton, you meant to tip your hat, and I completely missed my hat, and that's caught on video forever. I'll see if I can find the video for you. It's at my dad's place in the UK. But yes, I missed my cap, and whatever. I still loved the round of applause. Yes. Give it to me. Yeah. Now, there's a little bit of a dark side to getting what you want. And so when you finish a PhD and you go on to do a postdoc, I certainly felt that the sense of achievement I was getting from the daily grind of being in the lab, producing papers, wasn't fulfilling anymore. There's something quite nice about having someone, work towards a thesis within sort of a defined set of years or a timeline, and that kind of time pressure really made it feel very fulfilling for me as an international student, having to do my PhD in 3 years. But as soon as I got out, as soon as I did my postdoc, as soon as I got that job in industry, I was like, oh no, this is it forever now. Like, there's no 3-year goal where someone's going to applaud at the end of 3 years and be like, you're the best. Like, I just get money now. And I've never been motivated by money. I've never been motivated by achieving a big pay packet. I don't care for that. I feel like my life should be dedicated towards vocations, things that I absolutely love, some things that I enjoy, some things that I think are important to me, and then I can kind of, get my sense of satisfaction from that. I've never enjoyed looking at massive amounts of money going into my account. Don't get me wrong, it's great. Money's fuel for life, but it's not something that's ever motivated me. And so when I ended up getting into the postdoc, getting into industry, the kind of recognition of that is money. You turn up, you exchange your time for money, you go, thank you very much, and then that's it. And it wasn't fulfilling, which is why I don't think I lasted very long on the other side of my PhD. It's why I only spent 13 months as an explosives chemist. It's probably why I only I spent 10 years in research. I think I was hoping for it to get better, but it never really did. I never felt fulfilled. It was always like, okay, next paper, more grant funding, and I just looked forward in my life, and I looked forward to the many years ahead of me in my working life, and I was like, oh my God, I got to do this again forever. Maybe if every 3 years there was a crowd that gathered around me, like 200 people, and just applauded, be like, you're doing great, maybe then I'd stay, but who knows. So fulfillment is something that once you achieve something, you have to look for it more, you have to look for it again, and that can be very difficult. Once you get to the end of your PhD, and you've kind of ticked that box. Like I said, finding fulfillment is very important, and it's important that you always are working towards something that's important to you. Essentially, you go back to the beginning of this video and work through finding something that you find very important and that isn't sort of extrinsically motivated, isn't someone's society being like, earn money, get a job. If that's important to you, that is brilliant, and that's for you to decide for you, and no one else can decide that for you. But it's essentially that same cycle. Understand yourself, find something that motivates you, try it, fail, achieve it, seek external recognition, carry on. And then once you get bored of that, like I did in my postdoc, you start that cycle over and over again. And that essentially, I think, is the secret to being fulfilled throughout your whole life, even past your PhD. And sometimes that does involve creating a completely different career for yourself. Now, I've gone from academia to industry, back to academia, to my own startups, to my own businesses, to my own content stuff. Like, all of that has been incredibly fulfilling to me. And as soon as it's got boring and I just realized I'm doing it for a pay packet, I've moved on to the next thing. And I'm not saying that's the right way to live for everyone, but I think that sense of fulfillment, I'm in a position now where I've never felt so fulfilled with academiainsider.com, with this YouTube channel, with the other businesses that I'm working on. All of those things, I get a huge sense of achievement because it's important for me. I'm constantly challenging myself to be better. And I think that's where true growth comes from. And a PhD is a nice insight, a nice little kind of package where you get to see that growth. But remember that at the end of it, it just continues. Look for those new opportunities, look for those new challenges that excite you. Do something every single day to improve. And that, I think, is the secret to just continually being fulfilled throughout your career and even your life, dare I say it. How grand of me. So a PhD is fulfilling only if it's something that is important to you. It's very hard to not listen to the external voices. And if this video has been interesting to you, go check out academiainsider.com. It's my new thing that makes me excited, gives me purpose. I've got an ebook on there, the ultimate academic writing toolkit, where you can boost your career by learning all of the insider secrets to publishing in peer review. Like, that's the most important thing in academia. And I've shared all of that in an ebook. And academiainsider.com is also the home to my insider Academia in Forum, and it's a community that's growing very quickly of people that are there to help each other become better academics, seek support, advice, all of that. So go check it out at academiainsider.com. You'll find all the information there. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.